Before we get into painting in full color, let's start off slow. Just like we have done in the past, let's start with a preliminary sketch. What's a preliminary sketch? These are simple sketches or even detailed drawings an artist creates prior to painting the final picture. For this assignment, you will need a pencil, an eraser, and your canvas. I'm using this brand of canvas pad. The size I'm using is 16 inches by 20 inches. You can paint on anything from 12 by 16 up until 18 by 24. I have my still life set up here in front of me, but I am also using a reference photo that I can refer to as well. Here is my reference photo. If there are some elements I would like to change in my drawing, I will give myself that option, and you can do the same. Usually I start out with a very light sketch, but I want to show you how I approach each object individually. So first I'm starting off with this apple that's in the foreground. Foreground just means that the apple's in front of the other objects and it's closer to me. Because this apple's in front of the other objects, I want to make it slightly larger than the other objects behind it. I start out with a circle shape. In my photo, I see that half of the apple's in shadow. I outline that on my photo and in my drawing. Later, I will fill in all the shadow masses. One thing I often notice students do when they are drawing an apple stem is they place the stem on top of a circle like this. If you really look closely, the stem is in the center of the apple. Keep in mind, the apple is a three-dimensional object. Even though we are drawing something that is now two-dimensional, because a drawing is flat, you still want to create the illusion of the apple being round. This is why it's important to break down your objects into simple shapes and values, like in this photo where I mark the areas that are in shadow. Next, I move on to the pumpkin. I look and see where the pumpkin is located in relationship to the apple I just drew. So the bottom of the pumpkin comes to about the top of the apple here, and I can draw a line on my reference photo so you can better see this. I do the same thing with the pumpkin I did with the apple. I try to make it appear round and three-dimensional. Oftentimes students will draw a pumpkin like this. This is because we have preconceived notions about what a pumpkin or an apple should look like. But if we really look, we can see that each lump of the pumpkin creates its own shapes. The stem is in the middle of the pumpkin, and we can see part of the pumpkin behind the stem. These are all things that make the object appear three-dimensional. This is an illusion we're creating. Finally, I draw the last apple. This is the smallest object because it is the furthest away. I visually measure the distance between the apple and the pumpkin. I will draw a line on my photo to show you. Now I mark in the shadows and do some last-minute fixing up. Finally, I lightly sketch out where I think the fabric will be. I am going to go over this drawing with a light brown wash, so I'll add more details when I do that. For now, I have enough information to move on. Keep in mind that your drawing does not have to be perfect. As you paint, you will constantly be making corrections to your overall composition, shape, and placement of the objects.